Sonic X Shadow Generations just released for those of us with the digital deluxe edition, and my time with the game so far has been nothing short of amazing, and it seems that most other game reviewers share that sentiment. From Shadow's epic new campaign to Sonic's birthday adventure, you can tell that this game has been made with so much love, care, and attention to detail. But this isn't my review of the game. While I was mopping up S ranks and collectibles, I found myself coming across some videos on YouTube that kind of had me baffled. From the thumbnails alone, I was pretty intrigued. My initial thought was that they had taken issue with the Ian Flynn rewrites of the game, and that's a fair criticism. You know, if you want a game to stay true to the original the way that it was released, I completely understand that. So I checked this livestream out to see what they had to say about the censorship going on in Sonic X Shadow Generations because, like I said, I initially thought that they were worried about the rewrites. Instead, I found myself surprised and genuinely confused about the narrative that they framed around this game. But before I get any further, I want to preface this by saying that this isn't a drama channel and I don't want anyone going out of their way to bother these channels. So upon investigation of this livestream and video, apparently their issue with the Generations remaster is that it's woke and tearing down the traditional family structure. No, I promise you I'm not joking, this isn't hyperbole. There is legitimately a claim here that Sonic X Shadow Generations is against the traditional family structure.
Grums on Twitter said, "What they are censoring/altering in the story in Sonic is undermining the traditional male-female relationship and, downstream, family dynamic. Activists want to dismantle the family unit." And honestly, many people might hear that and laugh and say, come on, that's being ridiculous. But the more I live in this world and the more I see changing and what people are pushing, I can't help but agree completely, wholeheartedly, that Grums is 100% on point here.
Sonic fans in the chat, normal men, does this piss you off? Does it piss you off that they're doing it to Sonic, or the fact that they're just doing this right under your nose?
I also want to state here that they're free to feel any way they want to about this game. I strongly believe that everyone has the right to voice their opinion, and I will always stand by that. However, I want to address why a lot of their arguments are in bad faith. To start, they present themselves as if they enjoy Sonic or they're fans. I mean, if they didn't enjoy the franchise, why would they be so up in arms about it right now?
That's what Sonic Generations is. It's a good game. But yet Sega, for some reason, decided to make so many tiny little changes throughout it that makes the game so much more toned down. It sands the edges off of the game and makes it feel just so sanitized.
This just seems like one of those things that you look at and you go, why do we do this? What are we doing here? This doesn't make any sense. But so much of the stuff that we talk about on the show doesn't make sense. Nobody complained about that initially. Nobody had any comments about that initially, but they still felt the need to change it. There wasn't an uproar along the way that said, hey, we really got to get out there and make sure we change Sonic for the modern audience. Nobody said that. 0 people said that, but they still felt the need to do it. Someone looked through these Sonic games and they looked through it with an offensive meter or an offensive radar where, well, could somebody potentially find this offensive?
Smash JT even claims that he owns the original version of Generations and doesn't want to soil his experience with it by purchasing the new game.
Sonic X Shadow Generations is out and it got pretty good review scores, but I am very hesitant to want to go out and pick it up. Even if that's the case, I'm just going to be happy playing, which I do have the original on Xbox for it already. So I might as well just keep that and play that one anyways. Why do these games keep changing? Why do they keep ruining these franchises just to appeal to either the modern audience or the ESRB?
Which, that's fine, some people are purists and enjoy the original experience more than the new ones. But what's so funny to me is that if these people really do enjoy Sonic, why do all of them call Rouge Rogue?
Well, Rouge, I think it's Rogue. Rogue the Bat is...
And then we get to Rogue. I didn't think they'd censor Rogue further. Rogue's boobs. Rogue
She's a staple character in the franchise and has been since 2001. People in their chat even spell it correctly, but they go out of their way to call her the wrong name. It sets a weird precedent for me if you're complaining about changes in the game or changes to a character where you don't even know who these characters are. But this point is more so a nitpick that I kind of found funny, so now we can get into the meat and potatoes. The biggest claim that these channels make is that Generations is being censored. They bring up a few points regarding Amy not being a love interest to Sonic anymore. There's a scene that's been changed where Sonic is shoving Amy's face away, but now she's just in the background holding cupcakes. Everyone here mentions that now because of this scene, Amy doesn't love Sonic. They even took it out of her bio.
Even Amy who has had a crush on Sonic since Amy was first introduced, this is what she looked like. This is her bio in the original game. It says, a young, cheerful girl hedgehog. Amy can be a bit obsessed about chasing Sonic. She even claims to be his girlfriend. She's an energetic go-getter who lets nothing get in her way. So that's the original. And this is what they reworked her bio in the new game. A cheerful girl who loves to help others. Sonic inspired her to be her very best. She's an energetic go-getter with help from her Pico hammer and fortune cards. Nothing gets in her way. So she's not relying on Sonic anymore. She doesn't love Sonic anymore. It's all about, hey, she's a strong, independent woman. She's just inspired.
You don't need no man.
It's so stupid. The idea that he went from facepalming to giving her cupcakes. Somebody had to think this through. Like, what can we do?
In the original Sonic Generations game, putting his hand on Amy's face, pushing her away while reaching his other hand forward. And that has now been modernized to be update with, get this, cupcakes. What? Like, heaven forbid we show a male animal character putting his hand on the face of a female animal character in a game that is basically, I don't know, a cartoon for all ages.
It's so crazy that in Smash JT's video, he says that she doesn't have feelings for Sonic anymore because she's just a girl boss, while he's playing the clip from the new game of Amy trying to hug Sonic and hold his hands.
On top of that, they changed Amy Rose's feelings for Sonic. Originally, she was in love with Sonic. We got a female character that's attached to a male character, and it's like a stage 5 clinger thing. It's kind of like a comedy bit that they've done in Sonic forever when it came to Amy. But no, they're changing that now, going back in time and removing any of that lore. And why change that? Like, what does that do to benefit anybody? Just keep it the same.
Weird, right? Like, why would she try to hug him and, hold his hand if she didn't like him? I think that Sonic pushing her face away was removed because Sonic isn't a character that's outright mean towards Amy. Sure, he doesn't reciprocate the same feelings, but he isn't a jerk. It's okay though to not like the change. I think that is valid. But calling it woke is taking it from 0 to 100. Ian Flynn rewrote things to fit the characters better because he really understands these characters. If he didn't think that Amy had feelings for Sonic, then I truly don't understand why the IDW comics have shown her romanticizing him constantly. What they've done to Amy's character is actually really smart in my opinion. Instead of flanderizing her to the point that all she's known for is being a simp for Sonic, she actually has personality, wit, and is able to hold her own in combat. But at the end of the day, she's still head over heels for Sonic. They just don't want that to be her entire character. I also want to point this out before we move on to their next complaint. This entire game has been rewritten. Sonic Generations is a really good game, and when it released, it was well received. However, the biggest complaint was the narrative. The story wasn't great, and people took issue with that. Now, not everyone likes Ian Flynn's writing, but I'd say that a lot of people do. He did a solid job with Frontiers and has found a way to help tie the games, comics, and animations together into one cohesive canon. With all of that being said, Ian was brought on board to help improve the structural integrity of Generations' story, which, as I stated, was lacking. His job was to help make it fit with the new Shadow Generation story. This is a tall task, and not everyone is going to be happy about it, which is fine. Personally, I like a lot of the changes. I mean, just look at Shadow's dialogue and how much more in character it sounds compared to the prior game.
You've got this, Sonic.
You can win, Sonic.
On your feet.
You're not beat yet.
Now, if the issue that these channels took was that the entire script of the game was being changed from the ground up, I think that's a fair complaint. However, none of these videos address that the entire game was rewritten, which I think is very disingenuous. They point out 3 things that have changed and call it woke, all just to fit a narrative. With that being said, let's talk about the second change that they address. This is dialogue with Knuckles. After being freed from white space, Knuckles asks Classic Sonic if he gained weight, which is pretty funny. Classic Sonic is a bit of a chonker, but now the dialogue has changed to Knuckles being concerned about the rest of his island. So they framed this as Sega getting rid of fat shaming.
Sonic looking down, right? Then this other one says, Knuckles says, "Thanks, Sonic. Now then, tell me, where's the rest of my island?" So they removed the idea of They removed the idea of
Fat shaming.
Yes, fat shaming.
Knuckles used to fat shame Sonic in the original, saying, "Hey Sonic, you did a good job back there. Hey, did you gain weight?" And it shows Sonic holding his belly like, oh my god, did I gain weight? I don't know. Like, in the context of it, he's making fun of him. He looks pudgy. Like, it's a joke in the game, just poking at him. But we can't have that because apparently that would indoctrinate kids to bully others. So let's remove that line and say something that makes absolutely no sense in the context of the situation. Thanks, Sonic. Now then, tell me, where's the rest of my island?
Imagine with me for a moment if you didn't have any knowledge about Sonic, you never played Generations, and you didn't really have a grasp of who these characters were. Then you hear about a game being censored, and the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean look, this line about classic Sonic being fat is removed, and the female's bio doesn't mention that she loves Sonic anymore. Honestly, had I not been a Sonic fan, I might have bought into this narrative. It sounds like they're making a lot of weird changes. But like I mentioned earlier, this entire game is being rewritten. It's not just these lines, these are just small nitpicks. Knuckles always worries about his island. He's a guardian. His focus is on protecting the Master Emerald and the inhabitants of Angel Island. To me, from a lore perspective, it makes a bit more sense for him to be concerned about that rather than cracking a fat joke. It's just bizarre to me that these people are misleading and up in arms about a franchise and characters that I don't believe they care about.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
Which leads me to their last issue, Rouge the Bat, or as they prefer to call her, Rogue, I guess. Her character model has been slightly changed. If you ask them, this is game-breaking, lore-breaking, and probably the end of Sonic as we speak. Rouge's suit in the back has been pulled up about an inch. I have to laugh at this because my girlfriend and I, we couldn't even tell the difference until this was pointed out in the video. I'm not kidding, this is a complaint that they have.
And then we get to Rogue, where they completely changed the back of her outfit. And it's such a subtle change that I honestly had a hard time finding it initially. And I'm like, once I saw it, I'm like, what? Why did they do that? It literally just makes her outfit worse. The wings now clip through the back of her shirt, her dress. When it used to be just coming out of her back, they raised the dress up to cover where the wings came out. Why would you do this? Crack on Twitter said, "Hey, I don't mean to be that person, but can Sega stop doing this? I didn't think they'd censor Rogue further, but they've even covered up her back now. It looks bad. It's impossible to put on her wings, and nobody likes it. Stop being cowards." But it's not just her back either. Her cleavage has been completely removed as well. For some reason, Sega felt the need to censor even the slightest bit of cleavage from the old game. And no, this isn't me gooning over some animal having cleavage. It's just the simple fact that they felt the need to remove a line on her chest that you could barely see in the first place.
Look, I don't care if it's there or not in the first place, or if the line is moved an inch up or not. This is really ridiculous to get upset over. I mean, you really have to be staring hard to notice. And if we think about who the main demographic of Sonic fans are, it's younger kids. Young kids really love Sonic, and it's a franchise that lets their imagination run wild. Who cares if she's slightly desexualized? Honestly, in my opinion, it would be a lot weirder if they made her more sexual on a game that's rated E10 and up. You're mad about the character's model having the most minor change when you can't even pronounce her name correctly. It's Rouge. At the end of the day, I think this is a case of looking so hard for the evidence that they were gonna find it regardless if it was there or not. Sonic is not woke. Heck, I'd argue that Sonic is one of the least political franchises out there. And that's the beauty of it. At the end of the day, it's just fun stories of good versus evil that we can all get behind. I really didn't want to have to make a video about this, but I kind of felt compelled to because these claims that they are making are in bad faith. Trust me, I wanted to start writing my video on Gerald Robotnik because I had just collected all of his journal entries before I saw these videos. With all of this being said, remember that at the end of the day, we need to be respectful and kind to everyone even if we disagree. I'm sure that we see differently Smash JT and side scrollers. You know, if they want to believe that Sonic is woke, that's okay. I really think that's disingenuous for the most part. Like I said, don't be mean to these channels, they're good for the most part, but being the huge Sonic nerd I am, I wanted to get my voice out there on this subject. And with that being said, guys, expect a lot of Sonic content coming soon. I really want to talk about Gerald Robotnik with you because there's a ton of juicy lore about him in the new game. As always, I wish you all the best. Take care, Peace.